Tonight, legal action launched over a faulty rescue boat. And what's next now the steelworks sale is signed, sealed and delivered.
This is Southern Cross News with Tim Hatfield.
Good evening, but first tonight, the South Australian oyster industry is preparing for a shortage of oysters this season due to the result of the Tasmanian POMS virus. New hatcheries on the Eyre Peninsula are working around the clock to produce oysters in a bid to make up the shortfall.
It's the deadly virus that's devastating the Tasmanian oyster industry. The Pacific oyster mortality syndrome has wiped out 1.3 million oysters, totalling $5 million in product, leaving the Tasmanian industry shell-shocked. For much of 2016, South Australian oyster farmers held their breath and watched on while the disease continued to spread through Tasmanian waters. However, thanks to strict biosecurity actions preventing any movement of interstate oysters to SA, our world-famous oysters were spared. 15 months on and the local industry is steadily working towards filling the shortage created by the POMS disease. New hatcheries developed on the Eyre Peninsula are now producing South Australian spat in an urgent bid to make up the shortfall.
We've been selling quite small spat, it's just been flying off the shelves as fast as we can produce it.
Port Lincoln hatchery Sam Abalone has been shifting their focus to producing oyster spat to meet demand, with plans to double their operation. Meanwhile, Eyre Shellfish and Cow will commence production before Christmas, the industry rallying together.
We're moving towards becoming independent as far as spat production goes.
The full effect of the Tasmanian POMS outbreak won't be known until next year, but the Oyster Growers Association has begun meeting with farmers to offer support and build a strategy.
Try and map where we're at, what the projections are going forward and how we manage our way through what's going to be sort of temporary reduction in production and how we get that back as quickly as possible to full production.
Hatcheries are proactively working on producing a POMS-resistant oyster to prevent the disease from ever affecting our shores.
The longer we can keep POMS out of South Australia, the more chance there is to develop POMS-resistant stock from Tasmania. So I think there is a really bright future in the oyster industry.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
The Port Pirie rescue boat, the Sea Angel, and its trailer are currently involved in a legal dispute over its seaworthiness and safety. The builders of the rescue vessel are being sued by the state government. Our reporter Rachel Nell has more details.
The lawsuit comes over 10 years after the boat and its trailer worth around $250,000 were delivered to local state emergency services. The all-weather rescue boat is no longer allowed to operate in strong winds or rough seas, following papers lodged to the District Court in Adelaide, claiming the vessel is no longer fit for its purpose.
Reports are surfacing that the Sea Angel cannot operate safely at high speeds while conducting rescues. A claim from 2006 states that SES personnel experienced unstable characteristics while working in relatively calm waters. The government's district court action is seeking the full cost of the boat and trailer, unspecified damages and legal costs from the manufacturer, Noosa Cat. And the Transport Department has restricted the use of the Sea Angel, avoiding seas above 1.5 metres and winds above 25 knots. Noosa Cat has rejected the claims, stating that any instability has been caused by alterations to the vessel's dynamics.
It's also alleged that Noosa Cat delivered the trailers to the local SES without park brakes, air brakes or a valid compliance plate. In a statement from the defence, the company said the SES failed to wash the trailers after each use and also failed to treat corrosion appropriately, all factors that have reduced the rescue boat's effectiveness. The matter is due before court later next week.
Rachel Nell reporting there. The New South Wales opposition says the redevelopment of the dental services at the Broken Hill Hospital is behind schedule. MLC Daniel Mookies says in last year's New South Wales state budget, the project was set to be completed by 2018. This year that's been revised to 2020.
A 2-year delay for a major Broken Hill project.
The government snuck into the budget papers a delay from 2018 to 2020, and no explanation has been forthcoming from either the Minister or from the local member.
Mr Mookie says the New South Wales Government has delayed the redevelopment of the Broken Hill Health Service, which includes a $30 million community health centre and a reconfiguration of dental services at the hospital. He says the delay was hidden in the budget papers and locals received no explanation.
The number one question that I think everyone in Broken Hill is entitled to ask is, what does this mean for patient services? When will people be able to receive care and receive treatment at this project?
But according to the Far West Local Health District, the answer to Mr Mookie's question is still 2018. In a statement to Southern Cross News, the Health District says the budget papers are talking about a delay in the financial completion date, not the actual construction of the project. Minor works, landscaping, warranty periods and a 12-month liability period will all occur after the construction of the facility. Once the redevelopment is complete, the new integrated health centre will have a 5-chair dental facility, as well as child, family and community health services. Construction of the centre will start this year. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Police have arrested and charged a man with drink driving in Cowell after he was caught over 3 times the legal limit. The 47-year-old was stopped on West Terrace at around 2 p.m. on Monday afternoon. He submitted to a mobile driver test which allegedly recorded a reading of .158. The driver was issued with an instant 12-month loss of licence and reported for drink driving, with his car also clamped for 28 days. He's been summoned to appear in court at a later date. Well, stay with us. Still to come in tonight's local news. Where to now with the Steelworks sale finally signed, sealed and delivered? Part 2 of our interview with Sanjeev Gupta. That's ahead. Welcome back. Well, now to part 2 of our interview with Sanjeev Gupta, who says he wants his company to help grow not just the steelworks, but the Whyalla community in general. He also told our reporter John Hunt that he's proud of the workforce and will treat them as an extension of his family.
Well, this business belongs to them. They've shown that very clearly, because if they didn't have the commitment to this business, they could have quit and done something else or gone somewhere else. But they've stuck with it and waited for us to come and now invest in this business. So first of all, I congratulate them on their resilience and their patience in sticking with this business, and I thank them. The second point I would say is that the waiting is over, in the sense that this is done now. The deal is finalized. It's sealed. We will be the new owners of this business. We will invest in this business.
What's the kind of relationship you like having with your workforce, the whole workforce? I obviously know that it's a big company and you can't have a relationship with everyone, but what's the attitude that you want your company towards your workers?
Well, I always call it, and those are not just words, I regard that as my family, and I've always been very close to my colleagues all throughout my career. As you say, it becomes more difficult the bigger you get, because you can't be with everybody, but the spirit is the same. This is a family, and I like to encourage all my leadership team to apply that same philosophy as they deal with the people, that everybody should be treated as if they are part of one extended family.
In the book The Great Gatsby, there's a talk about the fate of 50,000 people. For you, you now have the fate of 22,000 people on your company's shoulders. How would you like to see your company integrate into the community? Is there a plan there to get itself involved?
No, absolutely. This plant and this community are one and the same. It's not, the plant exists and the community exists as one. So we will definitely take every effort to integrate. I'm already talking about a few issues which I won't expand on right now, but there are things to be done for sure here which would make this better place, for perhaps the tourism, but more so also to attract good talent as we expand the operations.
You're obviously going to be spending a bit of time in South Australia. You've obviously got a young family. How are you going to work with that? Because obviously Britain and Australia are a very long way away from each other. There's a reason they call it the antipodes. So how are you going to work with that?
Well, in the short term, it's okay. I'm hoping to bring them in a couple of weeks down to Australia to spend a few weeks with me while I'm here. Once schools restart there, then of course they will go back, and I'll have to shuttle between the two very ends of the world. But it's okay. We'll manage.
You've described yourself, you only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. Obviously, very working hard. Where does that come from in terms of wanting the will to work 16-hour days and that? Where does that will come from in this type of business?
So I don't really know any different. It's not. I've been asked that question before, and I think it's just how I was brought up. It's just in the DNA. Since my very early memories, I've worked hard. I've seen my father work hard.
And if we can sum up, finally, one last question is: what's the message for Whyalla going forward?
Long journey ahead, but a good one. A lot of challenges, a lot of hard work, but for good reasons and for the betterment of the town, of the steelworks and the business.
Sanjeev Gupta speaking with our John Hunt there. South Australia's floral emblem, the Sturt Desert Pea, has been spotted growing around at Broken Hill. Locals have been noticing the wildflowers popping up around town. It became South Australia's floral emblem in 1961. The City Council, though, is warning locals to not disturb or pick any of the famous desert wildflower, as they are a protected species in South Australia and in New South Wales as well. It's an offence to pick or have desert peas in your possession, with penalties for conviction including fines and even imprisonment. Port Pirie locals will soon be hit with a rate increase to improve the livability of the city. The money will be injected back into the community to meet the needs and expectations of locals and of visitors.
Residents of Port Pirie won't notice a big difference in their bank accounts, but will hopefully see a positive change in their surroundings.
The average residential increase is going to be $39 for the year, and that equates to about 75 cents a week.
The increase will go towards improving Solomon Town Beach foreshore and the other side of the river to create a more open and inviting place for tourists and the community.
We would like to create a connection between the central business district and Solomon Beach, which will require work with Flinders Port.
By linking the two together, it's hoped there will be a greater flow-on effect, with beachgoers investing in local shops and businesses. And part of the rate increase will go towards a tourism strategy where visitors will be encouraged to visit other attractions across Port Pirie and the Southern Flinders Ranges.
There are multiple day trips you can do through the Southern Flinders. You can drive down to the beach for a day trip from here, and you can also spend a day looking around Port Pirie itself.
And with people hopping from one destination to another, $100,000 has been allocated to improving rural roads and footpaths. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, stay with us when we return after the break. Slam dunk, another big expansion for Port Lincoln's Leisure Centre. The details ahead. Welcome back. The Port Lincoln Leisure Centre will begin its final upgrade, with Council approving the expansion to include an additional court. The new facilities will include squash courts, new toilets and wheelchair access to revitalise the stadium complex.
It's a slam dunk for Port Lincoln. Council approving the final stage of the Leisure Centre expansion to begin development on a state-of-the-art sport complex.
It's very exciting, the improvements to the pool area. So now it's the second stage, so we can actually get on with the stadium and building a new show court.
It's the final piece of the Leisure Centre puzzle after the Aquatic Centre was opened this year. The expansion will include a show court with tiered seating, squash courts, updated facilities and brand new car park.
I think it'll be sort of a multifunction, very nicely furbished addition.
The updated stadium has been in the pipeline for years, but now players will just need to wait one more season before taking centre court.
Finals of regional competitions and that sort of thing. I think the show court would be ideal. Plus it gives an additional court for training and playing their normal matches.
The new multi-purpose facility will cater to everyone, perhaps even the NBL.
36ers, national, international, we can accommodate them all.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Broken Hill locals will have the chance to take charge of the Silver City next month, with nominations open for the Mayor for a Day program. The annual event gives one lucky applicant a chance to assume the role of Broken Hill Mayor and get an inside look into what it takes to be in the top job.
A rare opportunity to sit in a prestigious chair.
We'll be running the Mayor for the Day program again. We run it as part of Local Government Week, which begins on July 30.
Last year's candidate said the experience was eye-opening and insightful.
Prior to doing this program, I didn't really have a lot of knowledge about council and what goes on behind the scenes, so this kind of opened up my knowledge of the roles and responsibilities of the largest leadership role in our community, and also the role of council in the community as well.
Some of Sasha's duties included site inspections, meeting with the city's councillors and even making an announcement to the media.
She did a major announcement down there at the Civic Centre. She funded the whole media scrimmage, and she just undertook all those mayoral duties day to day, going around and sort of touring facilities and just seeing how the whole operation works, and I think it was quite valuable for her.
The program is open to all locals over the age of 16. All you have to do is visit Council's website and say in 100 words or less why you'd like to be Mayor for a day.
Anyone who wants to learn more about Broken Hill and what's involved in leading the community, definitely apply for it and have a go.
Nominations close on Monday. Patrick Roinke, Southern Cross News.
Production has started for the second season of Wolf Creek, and it's being filmed in our region. The 6-part thriller series, based on the popular movie, is currently filming in the Flinders Ranges outside of Cairn, with 75 crew members boosting business in the town.
A picturesque backdrop, but a storyline some might call grotesque. The second Wolf Creek series is being filmed outside of Cairn. The series producer says the Flinders Ranges is the ideal location.
This series harks back to the first Wolf Creek film, which was actually shot around this area between here and Lee Creek. So it was very important for me as the producer to help Greg McLean deliver his vision about the first film. So we've come back to where it all began.
The 75-strong cast and crew has booked out accommodation, boosting business in the town.
You know, there's 70 people out here. We've got to have a background of a town that can support us really well, and Cairn's been doing that for us, as well as Hawker and Port Augusta. I think we've taken every available bed in town.
The 6-part thriller is based around Mick Taylor, a murderous bushman who preys on unwitting tourists. Actor Charlie Clausen plays an American holidaymaker, Danny Michaels, trying to repair the relationship with his wife.
They're sort of want to rekindle their marriage, so they come to the outback to fall in love again. But obviously, when Mick Taylor turns up, things take a turn.
So I hope that the viewers will come on the ride for the 6 hours, hoping to see what will happen and to who and when out in the harsh realities of the South Australian desert.
The crew will be in the region for another 2 weeks. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
The coaches from Celtic International Soccer Academy paid a visit to Port Pirie earlier this week, the last stop in their regional tour. Fresh off their trip to Broken Hill, the coaches have been teaching kids about what it takes to compete at a top level. Compressing a week-long camp into 2 days, rising soccer stars participated in an intense professional training session. Despite the wet weather, though, there was a big turnout, and it's hoped players from Port Pirie will be selected for the elite camp next year in Adelaide. Well, time to see how things are shaping up at the Bowser, and it's been up and down right across the regions. Here's Patrick with this week's Fuel Watch.
It's been a lacklustre week around the city centres for fuel prices. If they weren't holding steady, they were going up. Let's take a look at unleaded. Port Lincoln is the only major town in the Spencer Gulf to see a change, but it's only minor, and the price is still $1.27. Whyalla and Port Augusta have both stayed on a modest $1.25, while Port Pirie is a whole 7 cents cheaper at $1.18. After joining the board last week, Kadina is still holding on to the cheapest unleaded prices, with an average around the mid-teens. Broken Hill could be on their way back up as they tick on to $1.27, but it's good times in Adelaide. The price is down by 8 cents and on a mind-blowingly cheap $1.09. To diesel now, and it's all pretty even. Port Lincoln stands on $1.25 exactly. Whyalla is hovering on $1.24, Port Augusta is working their way down on $1.26. Port Pirie is one of the cheapest at $1.22.2, but again it's Kadina that's streets ahead, with a low price of $1.17 a litre, a little bit up from last week. Broken Hill is faring well and on their way down, while Adelaide is still holding on $1.20. So a pretty unpredictable week across both boards. Just remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. If you do find a spot that does sell it for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page. Tim.
Thanks, Pat. After the break, we'll have a look at the weather for the rest of the week and into the weekend. Welcome back. Turning to the weather now. Fine day today. 17 the top in Port Augusta with 16 for Whyalla and 15 in Port Lincoln. Port Pirie also 15 today with some passing showers. 15 also on fine in Broken Hill. On the national satellite, cloud cover is pushing off to the east as a high moves just south of our region. On the waters, the winds to 10 knots and easterly. Seas below metre to the south. Sunrise around 7:20. So looking at tomorrow's sub-zero early on, then a sunny 18 for Port Augusta, 17 for Whyalla, 16 for Port Pirie and Port Lincoln. Broken Hill still clear with 14 the top. Then looking at Friday, 20 the top for Port Lincoln and for Cleve. Woodner on 22. Saturday also looking fine. Whyalla with 20 to wrap up the week, 21 in Port Augusta and 18 down in Kimber. A sunny 19 as we hit the end of the week in Port Pirie. A sunny 16 though for Clare, and the same over in Broken Hill. At this stage the weekend also looking fairly sunny for most parts. And that is the local news for this Wednesday evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow night from 6:30. I'm Tim Hatfield from the team here at Southern Cross News. Have a good evening. Good night.